You can't know where you're going until you know where you've been, or in this case, what you've got. The first step in creating your mindful garden is getting to know your growing space intimately. Let's start with sun levels. Start by sketching a plan of your garden with all your growing areas on. This doesn't need to be fancy, as it's for your eyes only, unless you fancy sharing with the community in our Mighty Networks group. On a sunny day, when you plan to be at home, go out into the garden every hour. And if the growing area is in sun, write an S on the plan in the corresponding area. If it's in shade, don't write an S. It can be helpful to set a timer for every hour to remind you to do this. Plus, it's a chance to have 5 minutes for yourself, feeling the sun on your skin and the fresh air in your lungs. Track the sun using this method through the whole day and then add up the total number of S's in each growing area. You can also use this method to decide where to site a new growing area that needs to be sunny, for example. If the growing area has less than 3 S's, this means it is a fully shady area. If the growing area has 3 to 6 S's, then it's a partial sun and partial shade. Finally, if the growing area has 6 or more S's, then it is in full sun. Pause this video and use the worksheet to record the sun levels for each of your growing areas. Next up is soil type. There are 6 main types of soil: clay, sand, loam, silt, peat and chalk. The vast majority of garden soil is one of 3 types: clay, sand or loam. But how do you know what you've got? Go out into the garden and take a handful of soil from your borders. You may need a trowel to do this. Clay soil feels sticky to the touch and it's easy to smear. You'll be easily able to roll it into a sausage shape between your hands. Sandy soil feels grainy in your hands. It won't roll into a sausage and will just fall through your fingers. Loamy soil is a mixture of clay, sand and silt in differing amounts, so you may be able to get it to roll into some shapes. Silty soil feels floury when it's dry, and when it's wet, you can roll it into shapes. Peat soil feels very spongy. It's dark in colour due to its moisture content, and it's very nutrient rich. It's generally only found in peat bogs, which are harvested to make compost for use in gardens, a process that is very bad for the environment. Not only because peat bogs take thousands of years to form, but also because when the peat is harvested, it releases carbon into the atmosphere, which combines with the oxygen in the air to form carbon dioxide, and thus contributing to global warming. So my side message here is buy peat-free compost and help save our planet. Chalky soil is generally found in the garden as white lumps mixed in with brown soil. The soil type is unlikely to vary hugely across your growing area. Hit the pause button and use your worksheet to work out and circle your soil type. Soil moisture retention levels. Poor draining soil, such as clay, means that plants and bulbs can easily rot. To prevent this, consider working grit and sand into the base of your planting hole to help the water move away from the plant's roots. I strongly advise planting bulbs in containers, as there is nothing more heartbreaking than going to the effort of planting them all and then getting no flowers come spring because the bulbs have rotted away. However, on the plus side, nutrient levels in poorly draining soils are often high, so the plants that like the damp conditions will thrive. Freely draining soil such as sand allows the water to drain through the particles of soil, often leaching the nutrients in the soil away from the roots of the plants. If you garden on sandy soil, you may find that you need to feed your plants more frequently to keep them healthy. Another thing I advise is to work compost or well-rotted manure into the base of the planting hole to give the soil a bit more of a chunky structure and the plant a good shot of nutrients to help it establish. Follow this up yearly with a good application of compost or well-rotted manure on the surface of the soil and allow the rain to leach the nutrients down to the plant roots. The good news is that you can plant bulbs in the ground with wild abandon, as they will not rot and they get most of their nutrients from the previous year's growth. Average draining soil is, as seen in the other soil types, doesn't present us as gardeners with too many problems. I still advise a yearly top dressing of compost or well-rotted manure to keep your plants healthy. Here's how to test your soil moisture retention levels. Step 1. Dig a hole that is 30 to 45 centimetres across and 30 to 45 centimetres deep. Step 2. Fill the hole to the top with water. Step 3. If the water drains from the hole in 10 minutes or less, you have freely draining soil. Step 4. If the water takes an hour or more to drain, you have poorly draining soil. As your soil type remains constant across your growing area, so does your moisture retention levels. So unless you have a particularly boggy area of the garden, click pause again on this video and use the worksheet to do the exercise and record your soil moisture retention levels. Soil pH. Soil pH can have a big impact on plant selection, which is something we will cover in a separate video. In order to test soil pH, you can send a sample off to a lab, but this is pricey. There are other tools on the market to help you measure your soil pH, but as your soil pH is unlikely to change over time, I advise keeping hold of your money and using the type of soil you have in your garden as your guide. Clay soil is usually neutral or alkaline. Sandy soil is often acidic, and so acid-loving plants will thrive in it. Loam soil tends to be neutral if the sand, clay and silt elements are balanced. The inclusion of chalk in your soil makes it more alkaline. The pH of your soil is unlikely to change markedly across your growing space, so record your soil pH on your worksheet, and once complete, come and share your garden stats with us in the community.